Across ancient cultures, certain symbols were believed to represent rebirth, continuity, and the persistence of the soul. These images appear in temples, manuscripts, and burial artifacts. Many traditions connected them to the idea that life does not end with death. Archaeologists have found recurring motifs linked to cycles of existence. These carvings appear across regions separated by geography and time. Their meanings were preserved through religious and philosophical traditions.
Ancient symbolic systems often described life as part of a repeating cycle. In several belief systems, existence continued through multiple births. Symbols became visual shorthand for these ideas. One of the most recognizable cycle symbols is the serpent forming a circle. The image appears in ancient Egyptian and later Greek sources. It represents an endless cycle of beginning and ending. In ancient Egypt, religious texts describe the soul continuing after death. Funerary writings discuss transformation and rebirth in the afterlife. Symbolic objects were placed in tombs to support this journey. The ankh symbol appears frequently in Egyptian temple art and funerary objects. It is commonly translated as life. Deities are often shown holding it near human figures. In many temple carvings, gods extend the ankh toward rulers or priests. Egyptologists interpret the gesture as granting life or divine vitality. The symbol became strongly associated with continuity beyond death. Texts such as funerary papyri describe the soul's journey after death. These writings include spells, prayers, and symbolic imagery. They guided the deceased through the afterlife according to Egyptian belief. In Tibetan Buddhism, teachings describe the continuation of consciousness after death. These ideas appear in religious texts and oral tradition. Symbolic diagrams often represent this cycle. The endless knot is one of the 8 auspicious symbols in Tibetan Buddhism. It represents interconnection and continuity. In religious interpretation, it can symbolize the cycle of existence. Interpretations of these symbols have changed over time. Ancient meanings were tied to specific religious systems. Modern scholars analyze them through archaeology and textual study. Today, many artifacts containing these symbols are preserved in museums. Their original contexts are reconstructed through historical research. Interpretations vary depending on cultural framework. In Indian religious traditions, cyclical imagery also appears frequently. Concepts such as samsara describe repeated birth and death. Symbolic wheels often represent this cycle.
The Dharma wheel is a central symbol in Buddhism. It represents the teachings of the Buddha. In broader interpretation, the wheel can also reflect the cycle of existence. Hindu philosophical texts describe recurring cosmic cycles. These include cycles of creation, preservation, and dissolution. Symbolic imagery often accompanies these teachings. The ouroboros appears in later Greek and alchemical manuscripts. The image shows a serpent consuming its own tail. Writers used it to represent cyclical transformation. Medieval alchemical texts frequently used symbolic imagery. These images represented philosophical and natural processes. The ouroboros became a recurring motif. Across cultures, symbolic imagery often centers on circular forms. Circles visually represent continuity without beginning or end. This geometry appears in many religious traditions. Ancient thinkers often used visual symbols to express abstract ideas. Cycles and nature influenced these representations. Seasonal change and celestial motion reinforced circular imagery. Spiral patterns appear in prehistoric monuments across Europe. Archaeologists interpret them as symbolic motifs. Their exact meanings remain debated. The ankh, endless knot, dharma wheel, and ouroboros come from different cultures. Each emerged within its own religious or philosophical system, yet many share the visual language of cycles. Ancient traditions frequently described existence as part of a larger continuum. These ideas were recorded in myths, religious texts, and symbolic art. The symbols helped communicate concepts that were difficult to express in words. Symbols often traveled across regions through trade and cultural contact. Over centuries, meanings evolved or merged. Archaeology continues to trace these symbolic pathways. Throughout history, humans have used symbols to represent continuity beyond a single lifetime. These images appear in religion, philosophy, and art. Their meanings remain tied to the traditions that created them. Across centuries and civilizations, the same shapes appear again and again: circles, knots, wheels, and serpents.